This video was brought to you by the Indiana University Alumni Association. Hello and welcome to our newest Alumni Volunteer Spotlight video. Some of you may know, my name is Hannah Fry and I'm a student fellow at the Indiana University Alumni Association. I'm a rising senior studying nonprofit management and leadership at the O'Neill School in Bloomington. And today I'm so excited to highlight and introduce to you Joanna Wynn. So just to tell you guys a little bit about Joanna, Joanna is a true Hoosier, having grown up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then getting both her undergraduate degree and master's degree from the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University Bloomington. While at IU, she was active in various organizations, including McNutt's Student Government, Kelley Student Government, the Professional Tourism Management Club, and much more. Joanna is now 2,230 miles west of B-Town, working in the land of angels and unicorns. Today, in the heart of Silicon Valley, she serves as a strategy leader for Stanley X, the innovation arm of Stanley Black & Decker. Outside of the office, you can probably find her hiking with friends, searching for the best chicken and waffles, or watching motorsports at Sonoma Raceway or Laguna Seca. Never forgetting her roots, she actively volunteers as the South Bay board member in the IUAA San Francisco chapter. So thank you so much for joining us today. And just to kind of touch back on your bio a little before we dive into our real questions, I just wanted to ask if you have any favorite joint in Bloomington to find your chicken and waffles or just breakfast or anything like that.
Hannah, thanks for having me. It's great to be highlighted and known as an IU alumni volunteer. I have to admit, unfortunately, my time in Bloomington, I was never really a breakfast person / morning person, so didn't really get to go do the iconic brunches that I now do in California. But that being said, favorite spot and things I think about all the time is Nick's Fries. So
oh yeah,
counting down the time to go back there and have a chance to go back to that alumni hub. So.
Definitely. Well, if you do want to find chicken and waffles in Bloomington, I've heard B-Town Diner has some good ones, so you might have to check it out.
Awesome.
But yeah, so down to the more serious questions. I just want to kind of ask you a little bit about your time with the IU Alumni Association. And first and foremost, how did you get involved with IUAA?
Yeah, I think moving out to California, it's hard to find new folks. So was glad to start connecting with events the IUAA chapter was holding. So I kind of first got involved by just attending events, getting to know folks, getting to remember my roots at Bloomington. And then as I attended more and more events, got to know more of the board members and eventually got an opportunity to join the board and be more active as a volunteer.
That's awesome. So kind of associated with that, is there anything in particular that you enjoy most about volunteering?
Yeah, I think it gives a great way for alumni to give back to the community and always remember, Bloomington and the crimson color and blood runs deep in me. So being able to give back in that way was something I was looking forward to. And with being in, again, California and San Francisco Bay Area, not too many IU folks out here. So it's good to connect with folks from the Alumni Association, really create that community where, only Midwesters understand certain things when it comes to transplants within California. So.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I think it's really cool that we get to spotlight someone who is in California, because I do think your work volunteering there not only impacts like the IU community, but also your communities in California. So it's nice to see you bringing a little bit of the Midwest out there. So as you may know, a lot of students just recently graduated here in Bloomington. And so this summer, thousands of recent graduates will be moving to unfamiliar cities to start their careers. What tips would you give these alumni who are moving to new places or to your area specifically? What helped you navigate this transition?
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and especially tough times now where meeting up with folks is not as readily available or as easy. I think one great way to get involved or get to know your city a little bit better is to reach out to these board members of these IUAA chapters. You can find out their contacts on the IU websites and see, how can we reach out to the chapters to get to know folks. Some chapters use more of like the Facebook approach, some use the email approach. So definitely just check it out, use different channels to get connected. I know here in San Francisco, especially with last year being COVID and us not really being able to host any events to actually meet newcomers in the Bay Area, we actually had a virtual kind of newsletter, Welcome to the Bay, introducing everyone from the board. And we definitely did that to let folks know that they can reach out to us. So I think anyone who's serving on a board at IUAA's chapters are more than welcome to introduce you to other folks, let you know a little bit more of their tips and secrets of their cities. And then once things do open up again, definitely go to events, see some of these folks in person, and definitely reach out to those IU networks just within LinkedIn and other social media sites. I know IU actually has the My IU that you can connect with too, and attend some of these virtual hosted events.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you touched on just kind of the various like pathways that the alumni chapters use to communicate, whether it be a newsletter or Facebook profile. But I know in my browsing lately, I've seen just all sorts of conversations happening on those platforms, and it's really encouraging to see the willingness of the alumni and just things like that. So if I have any peers who are heading out to California, I'll definitely get them in touch with you. So kind of back on the volunteering side of things, what would you tell alumni who are thinking about volunteering?
Yeah, I would say don't be scared. I again do it at your speed. For me, myself, I definitely wanted to attend a couple events first, get to know the board members before committing to being on the board or being more of an active member. That being said, as someone who's wanting to get involved, again, don't be scared. Even though we're called a board, it's not that formal. A lot of folks just like to get together, text each other on ideas like, hey, let's go watch this game, or let's set up an event and joint with, the Purdue folks out here or the Butler out here. So yes, it's not as, I guess, overwhelming as you might think it is. So definitely step on in. So
That's really great advice. I think that applies in just about any element of life or moving, but it's nice to hear someone reassuring you and saying that it is normal. It is a very welcoming community, and that volunteering can be intimidating, but once you kind of get your foot in the door, I'm sure there are tons of opportunities that fall in your lap. So again, this is our last question, but I just want to know if you have a specific contribution or achievement in your work with the alumni board that you're most proud of. I know you've done tons of things already in your time since graduating.
yeah, I guess I'll highlight three things. One, being that basketball is so important to IU, I was happy and glad to be able to host as one of my first events, being on the board, a watch party. So kind of connecting with the Dutch Goose out in Menlo Park, Palo Alto area. We got a lot of space for free for our IU and Purdue folks to join. It was an IU versus Purdue game. Unfortunately, IU did not pull forward, but it's still good to get folks together, get a watch party going, especially since this was based out of kind of the South Bay area versus the city. So that was definitely exciting as a first event that I hosted. I think another thing I'll highlight is with it being COVID, it was very uncertain, and we wanted to make sure folks who were going to Bloomington felt welcome and knew that we were here to support. So we did kind of a virtual send off via Zoom, and was able to get to know some of the new students going into Bloomington and get to see and hear about their goals. We got to be candid about our experiences at Bloomington, and I think that helped reassure them that they would have a good time despite the COVID restrictions of going on campus. And with that too, we got to play a great virtual trivia game, and I learned so much about IU during that game that I didn't know before. And then the last thing I'll highlight, I mentioned this before, I think the simplicity of a newsletter that I helped lead when we did kind of a virtual welcome to the Bay, highlighting everyone on the board. We got to put on our newsletter each of our favorite spots in the Bay Area, and we have folks kind of representing all different parts of the Bay. You have folks in San Francisco, you have folks like me in South Bay, you have folks over in East Bay, you have folks north of the city. So kind of seeing all of them, and seeing that though we are IU, our network kind of spans wide, and that you're not alone, even in a place like the Bay Area where it seems so big and that you don't really run into that many Midwesters. So that I think is my third highlight, I would say.
Yeah, oh my gosh, those are all so great. Wow, I just really love hearing like the personal touch you guys have put on your chapter activities, whether it be highlighting those special things to you in the newsletter, but even like I haven't heard of a lot of these like two-way streets when it comes to alumni engagement, and I think being able to communicate with the students who are going to Bloomington is so exceptional, and I would have really loved to have that from where I came from. Unfortunately, I'm really close to Purdue, so it took me a little longer to find that, but I think it's an amazing tool that the Alumni Association uses, and I'm really glad to hear that it's gone well for you guys. So
Yeah.
I just
And
want to thank you. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was about to say, like, as big as IU feels when you're there, once you're out of IU, it's kind of IU is what gives you that small kind of town and small community feel in some of these bigger cities. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing so much with us. And I hope that this can give some inspiration to some of our future volunteers and new graduates. So I would just like to say that the Indiana University Alumni Association wants to thank its volunteer leaders, and thank you.